Hello, everyone. I just wanted to do a quick update on our Dungeons and Dragons world. And the idea here is that I want to update the game so that we can reimagine this Nen concept we have going on. So, Nen right now is really, you have so much Nen, and it's kind of too much. It's uncontrollable, and it kind of takes away the impact we want to have on these decisions when you just try to use Nen in our Dungeons and Dragons world. So the idea is currently Nen is so easy to get into use that you'd almost never think about it. There's no reason to actually think about it in the game that I had created. So the idea is moving forward, if you read here, everyone's only going to get 2 Nen charges per day from levels 1 to 5. From 6 to 10, you get 3 Nen charges. 11 to 15, you get 4. 16 to 20, you get 5 Nen charges. These Nen charges, unlike how we've been currently doing it, where the Nen charges can only to be used on like powerful abilities. The Nen charges can be used for everything. I think it's something we kind of missed, and I want to bring it back that anything can be a Nen charge. So if you want to do a persuasion check and you really want it to hit, that could be a Nen charge. You just really work on it, and it's going to give you advantage, double advantage. It might just make it hit automatically. It depends what I decide, but Nen charges are very powerful. So you can influence that part of the game with Nen charges. You can make more powerful abilities and use those in combat with Nen charges. You can um, support people, give them some kind of buff that you might want to think about and try to build into your character. Heal people if you want to try to build that into your character. Um, you could also like enter power states. For instance, on Dylan's character, you know, Tawagata, we planning on maybe giving him some kind of like increased power form where he like gets really powerful and gets special abilities, and it costs 1 Nen charge, and then over time it costs more. So really think about how you want to use Nen. Okay, you're not gonna have as much now, but I want it to be more impactful. Every single session, I don't want you to wonder why you had 2 Nen charges left. I want you to use them on something, because every single session you'll probably get them back. You'll probably go to long rest, maybe not, but if you think there's gonna be a long rest coming up at the end of this day, then you should use them. They're good. If we have an hour left, you'd understand how much is left in the game, so might as well use them. So you have to determine if you think we'll have a long rest or not. Obviously you might not always have it, but just saying, they're really impactful, fun to use. I really want you guys to see that and try to use more of them going forward. These Nen abilities, literally anything from Hunter x Hunter, just special things that you do. Now, the idea that I'm bringing into this is that when you use an ability, okay, the ability on your first attempt is going to do half damage. So when you try and like hit someone really hard with your Nen ability, it'll do half damage. If you want to heal someone really hard, it'll do half healing. If you want to support someone really hard, it's going to do half whatever it is. You're learning the ability, but you're using your Nen charge in combat to learn it. Outside of combat, if you just use a Nen charge to want to learn an ability, you can just learn it outside of combat. So let's say the day's over and you have 2 Nen charges, like, I want to really try this thing and make it an ability. And that's if at the end of the day you're going on a long rest, use an ability on your leftover Nen charge. Why not? Cook something up, send it to me, 3 days after the session, just write it up to me. If you didn't use them at the end of the last session, send them to me now and we could add them. Because you guys didn't, just to, have this new ability come in moving forward as well. The only thing else is, really just get creative with it. Have fun. Nen abilities should be cool. Make them build into your character, and maybe your ability gets more abilities because you keep putting Nen into practicing that one ability and making it super powerful. As in Hunter x Hunter, if you've never seen Killua, he learns how to make electricity. Then he gets yo-yos, and he uses that as like a ability. And you could build all that in slowly over time, but it takes practice, which you have to do over sessions. Moving forward, we're now going to start talking about Nen weapons. So, the idea of Nen weapons is that they're ways for you to channel your Nen energy into making extremely powerful attacks. So, that being said, really when you're thinking about it, the idea is that these Nen charges, now that we have less of them, they're going to be a little bit more impactful. So, the Nen weapons are ways where you can really utilize some specific energies that these weapons have already crafted. The for instance, if we're looking at these 2 weapons here, the fire axe and the light shield that Bunny have, it would be hard for you to just as a normal character just cast fireball instantly. But if you have the fire mace that's already built into it, you can use your Nen charges to utilize the power that's already stored in that weapon to have something powerful go out. So it's really cool because it allows you to, use your Nen charges in a really impactful way, but you're restricted to the limitations of this one item that you own. Um, so it's essentially just a cool way to get a little bit more out of these things and have fun with it. So yeah, just know, again, the big change going forward will be these don't have their own charges. They're just going to be using the Nen charge that you already have, but still extremely powerful, and Nen weapons are great options to use. So going forward from here, we're going to go into each individual character. So Cruel Wrench, of course, or Dorito Lover. So Cruel Wrench has been essentially really benefiting from the fact that I've put no restrictions on the amount of Doritos that Cruel Wrench had, and now I want to put a limit on it to make it more interesting from a gameplay perspective, and also just to make Doritos seem a little bit more impactful than they've already had. So my idea is that essentially, whether we want to do it in lore or not, our good old friend PepsiCo has now put limits on the amount of Doritos that are given every single day to Cruel Wrench. So Cruel Wrench now is going to be receiving 20 Doritos per day. Cruel Wrench is addicted to Doritos, so Cruel Wrench is therefore going to eat by default 16 Doritos per day because they'll be awake for 16 hours, essentially. And these Doritos, not only are they being eaten because of Cruel Wrench's addictions, but these Doritos have to be consumed one Dorito per hour to ensure that Cruel Wrench holds on to their Warlock powers. So anything that's related to the Warlock class with Cruel Wrench, spells, Eldritch Blast, things like that, Doritos have to be consumed for that to stay up. But as I said, you have enough. You have 20 Doritos and there's 16 waking hours. So you have 4 Doritos left over to work with where you can essentially eat an extra Dorito, even if you've already eaten a Dorito that hour, to essentially get a boost of a certain kind, depending on the flavor of Dorito you eat. So again, I can explain this to anyone that needs it more, but I just wanted to put this here, so I hope this makes sense. Moving forward, the Dorito modifier. So you have 4 different kinds of Dorito you can eat. Cool Ranch, which gives you advantage on your next Eldritch Blast. Really good if you want to really hit an Eldritch Blast, you just want to finish off an enemy or something. Great. Give it advantage real quick just for using a bonus action to eat a Dorito in combat. Nacho Cheese, gain temporary HP equal to your Charisma modifier. This is generally going to be probably around like 3 to 4 x HP, which isn't a lot, but it's also, you have plenty of Doritos, why not just throw one of them in there? Then you have Flaming Habanero, Surge of Speed, double your speed, which means you can walk twice as far, so if you have to, you know, get away or try to, you know, close the gap on someone, can do it with that. And then finally you have Sweet Chili, which lets you gain +2 AC for 1 turn. So if you think you're going to take a lot of hits, could be definitely worthwhile to eat a Sweet Chili and try to, tank the hits that are coming at you. Diogen's our next person up on the chopping block. So Diogen is an innate Nen user. It is this idea I've kind of built up with through Diogen's experiences of just being a spiritual person in general and also doing lots of drugs. They have become an innate Nen user. This means they're better at Nen than the other users in the party. Which means they're going to be gaining an additional Nen charge at each level. So that means everyone else currently is going to have 2 Nen charges, but Diogen will have 3 because they're an innate Nen user. Really built in the Nen. It's definitely a part of who they are, just their spiritual affliction. And as you've already seen, Diogen's abilities have been a little bit further apart just because they kind of are someone that was already close to reaching it and now has, has so much experience with it and is, becoming a larger user. But additionally, from that, I'm going to add a little bit of extra mechanic to Diogen's Nen, which I'm going to call Wild Nen. So the way this works, that every single time that Diogen uses a Nen charge, Diogen is going to roll a d20. If that d20 leads to a critical roll, a 20, then Wild Nen will occur. This will then have Diogen roll a d4, and then from that d4, one of the following 4 effects can be granted. If that d4 rolls a 1, transportation is given, which allows Diogen to teleport a player, a party member, 35 feet or 30 feet, which can be useful. Then you have advantage. This one costs a bonus action. It gives your next spell advantage. This can be really useful. Being able to give a spell advantage that Diogen wants to get off and being able to give it advantage is powerful because spells are kind of balanced around the fact they won't have advantage, so that would be a very useful one to get. We have redirection, which allows you to redirect an opponent's attack. It may require a little bit of extra rolling and not just be free for like more powerful attacks, but Nonetheless, very useful ability. And then we have Bardic Domination, which allows Diogen to bestow the Bardic Domination ally onto their teammates. So the Bardic Domination ally or buff is this buff that allows while Diogen holds concentration on the spell, the user that has it gains 3 Bardic Inspiration die per turn. So Bardic Inspiration dies, you might not know, they're adding an extra D4 to certain rolls. Normally it's just saving throws and um, ability checks and attack rolls to hit someone, but with this new one, not only do you get 3, which is already very useful because you can stack them onto each other, you can also add them to your damage. So if you want, you could just have a huge damaging attack with just 3 extra d4s on it. So a lot of very interesting stuff there. Kind of an interesting change. We'll see how often this comes up. I might make it easier to come up. A 20 might be too hard, but still, I think an interesting way to add a little bit of complexity to the Diogen character. Next, we have Bunny. So Bunny is, of course, our Nen weapons specialist, essentially. Bunny has brute strength and large hammers and a huge shield, which have very cool powers. So we're just going to talk about them real quick because just to better understand what's going on. So we have the Warhammer of the Elder Flame, a insane Warhammer that was given by the gnomes to Bunny so that Bunny could have some magical powers and help on this. It was forged with star steel, which means it is, in fact, a Nen weapon. And the one of the abilities I'm going to give Bunny as I'm trying to, whatever happened previously, we're just going to go forward with this new set. The ability I'm going to give Bunny is that there's Blazing Tornado, which allows Bunny to make a circular sphere of fire around her and her enemy, um, which essentially will, lead to them taking damage if they try to leave. So the idea is that you could hopefully, encapsulate enemies into 1v1 situations with you or just kind of be surrounded because Bunny's the kind of tank out there that can really deal with being surrounded by 5 or 6 enemies. It's not really a big deal. Very strong person, so definitely take it. And next we have the Shield of Dawnbringer. So upon just being a shield given to Bunny, it also has a few abilities. The ability here that I've added to it is called Blinding Beam, which is essentially using a Nen charge to shoot a beam out of the shield at an enemy. The enemy has to try to do a dex saving throw. If they pass the dex saving throw, then they only take half damage. But if they fail the dex saving throw, they take 2d8 worth of radiant damage. So essentially just a big beam just comes shooting right out at them. Does pretty good damage. And it's a nice ranged ability to add to Bunny's um, repertoire, as most everything is just melee. So if you don't have the chance to catch up to someone, you can definitely feel free to charge a Nen ability and put it out there. Finally, we have Ino Tawagoto. So Ino Tawagoto is a newest member of the team. Ino Tawagoto is a samurai who, has slowly been learning down on their own. So just so everyone understands, Ino Tamagata has a one ability. It's called Amaiwamo Shinderu, and this allows them to increase their, essentially fill up their, infuse their body with Nen to kind of reach this elevated state, and then quickly perform 3 strikes on the enemy. All of these strikes need to be rolled for. They need to hit, and damage is rolled for separately. But if they hit 2 of the 3, then they will add poison to the enemy, which deals 1d8 every single turn, and the opponent must continuously roll a Constitution check to see if it happens or not. So, really cool character, interesting ability, and kind of we'll see how Ino Tawagata, gets better as it goes on. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about real quick is just a new mechanic I brought up. I don't know if any of you will use it, but it's essentially throwing weapons in D&D. So, throwing weapons are not generally in D&D. They kind of are like javelins and things like that, but it's kind of weird as normally it seems like they're not that useful, and it kind of depends. And normally it's more of throwing like one big thing instead of the kind of way I want to do it, where it's like you can be, Shikamaru from Naruto and throw your kunai at someone, or Twisted Fate if you ever played League of Legends, who throws cards at people. I want to kind of build in this world that you can just pick up normal shurikens or whatnot and throw them at people, or you could infuse some kind of ability in your Nen to make like magical cards like this character does in League of Legends. But essentially the way I'm doing it is if you as a character don't see yourself as having a lot of leftover bonus actions, it could be nice to add this to your repertoire. So the idea is you have two actions when it comes to, well, two things you can do when it comes to throwing weapons. The first one is take aim, which costs one action. So essentially, if you see a big enemy you know is going to take a while to take care of on the other team, you can spend one action to take aim at them and focus on that target so that then they're in your sights, essentially meaning that you have aimed at them, and now every single turn after this, you can use one bonus action a to throw a weapon at them, a throwing weapon at them. So be that we will go to a person that will sell these kind of things, but kunai, throwing stars, anything you really want can be thrown at them. But just so you know, that's essentially how it's going to work. I'm just kind of adding in this new mechanic. Don't know if anyone wants to use it or will use it, but I thought it was interesting to kind of allow for you to have this nice little extra bit of damage. These weapons won't do that much, but kind of interesting to just have like this kind of concept of, if you have bonus actions often that you don't know if you're going to be using, throw this into your team. Maybe you'll just keep throwing stuff at them, your samurai stars, or, if you want to build that into the way you work your characters. So just be fun. Okay, well, appreciate you all for listening. That's all I had. So see you all in the next session. Yeah, and have a great one. See you around.